Somebody called for you.
Yeah, who?
Guy with a strange voice. Said he'd call you back. He sounded just like a duck.
Just like a duck.
Mr. Fulci, I've seen all your films. I've read all the scripts, the screenplays, the notes. I understand now why you're in this state of confusion.
The boat can leave now. Tell the crew.
Conquest represents Lucio Fulci's singular venture into the sword and sorcery subgenre. Popularised in the early 1980s by films such as Conan the Barbarian. Characteristically unconventional, Fulci's interpretation is a surreal and often disorienting blend of fantasy and horror, populated by wolfmen, undead creatures, mystical weaponry and otherworldly antagonists. As with The Devil's Honey, the question arises as to whether Fulci's lone entry into this genre distinguishes itself from its contemporaries. The narrative follows Ilias, a young protagonist mysteriously transported into a hostile, mythic landscape armed only with a bow. Tasked with proving his worth, he must confront the forces of evil that dominate the land. Chief among them is Ocaron, a powerful and feared ruler who enforces her authority through ritualistic sacrifice and a legion of wolf-like servants. Haunted by visions of a faceless warrior destined to kill her, armed with a weapon she does not understand, Ocaron becomes fixated on locating Ilias before the prophecy can be fulfilled. During his journey, Ilias encounters Mace, a rugged wanderer with a deep connection to the natural world. The two form an alliance and traverse a perilous landscape filled with ambushes, poisonings and supernatural threats, including encounters with swamp-dwelling undead. Although they briefly part ways, circumstances ultimately reunite them as they move toward a final confrontation with Ocaron and her allies, including the enigmatic Zora, a figure who commands the creatures of the night. What follows is a chaotic and violent climax in which alliances shift, sacrifices are made, and the film's central themes of destiny and vengeance come to the forefront. The resolution, while straightforward in structure, is delivered with Fulci's trademark emphasis on atmosphere and brutality. Conquest distinguishes itself through its striking visual ideas and unusual tonal blend, merging high fantasy with elements of horror and exploitation cinema. The creature designs and world building contribute to a uniquely dreamlike, often nightmarish quality, hallmarks of Fulci's directorial style. However, despite these strengths, the film has often been overlooked, perhaps due in part to its release timing in 1983 and the perception that it was a more commercially motivated project within Fulci's career. One of the film's most divisive aspects is its visual presentation. A persistent soft focus effect, often described as a hazy or diffused image, was intentionally employed to create an ethereal atmosphere. While this approach aligns with the film's surreal tone, it can also obscure the natural beauty of its locations and the detail of its cinematography, ultimately proving distracting for some viewers. Nevertheless, Conquest remains an entertaining and visually intriguing work, bolstered by its brisk pacing and straightforward narrative progression. Its willingness to embrace bizarre and unconventional ideas ensures that it stands apart from more traditional entries in the genre. It is perhaps regrettable that Fulci did not revisit this style again, as the film demonstrates a clear, if imperfect, creative vision. A notable point of trivia concerns the film's UK release, where it was significantly altered by the British Board of Film Classification. Approximately 4 minutes of footage were removed, including much of the film's violence and nudity, an especially impactful decision given the prominence of these elements within the narrative, particularly in relation to the character of Okram, who is naked throughout the whole movie. Just another mindless decision of censorship gone mad from the UK during the heights of these beloved, dangerous movies. Here we have the 2019 Code Red Blu-ray of Conquest. I remember when this release came out, it was quite sought after, I think, especially with the slipcover version. They did later release just a standard release, but that went quite quickly as well, I believe. This was released, I remember seeing at the time and thinking, I really do want to get my hands on it, but never got around to it. Like I said, quite pricey, I just think it was sought after. I think Conquest being one of those movies that didn't have the best track record of physical media releases, both over here in the UK and the US. But when this came out, it seemed like a pretty big deal. So I was obviously glad to eventually pick this up. It took a while. It was in my latest updates video. But yeah, I got it for a good price, slipcover, poster included. And like I said in that video, I loved the artwork on this. The artist who did this has done a bunch of Blu-ray releases. He's worked with almost every company by looks of it, but this is one of my favourites from him. Just really striking, captures the film perfectly, I think. But this is one disc. It's got a few new special features, not loads of bonus features, but it's got a few. It's got a conversation with George Rivero, the main star who played Mace. Banana Man interviewed George Rivero. Audio commentary with film historians Troy Howarth and Nathaniel Thompson. And then a trailer. It's a new 2019 HD master. So I didn't actually watch this Blu-ray for Conquest. I will talk about that in a minute, how I watched it, but I've not actually had time to check out this Blu-ray, so I will do. But let's have a look inside. Got the slipcover, like I said, really loved that artwork. And then this is the more familiar cover art for the film. Again, really striking. I don't think Conquest has had a bad cover art by looks of things. So got the spine, Code Red 181. Again, there's the back. Open it up. There's the disc art, and you can see behind that the alternative cover art is just a slipcover cover. And then you've got the fold-out poster, which again is the slipcover artwork, so really nice to have that. But yeah, that is the Blu-ray of Conquest. They have done, so it was recently announced that Cauldron Films is releasing Conquest on 4K, I believe. I think they're doing like a special 3-disc version, new transfer, new extras. It looks really nice. I was kind of holding out to get that release, but like I said, I stumbled across this one quite cheap, so I picked up this one instead. But either way, you know, I probably will eventually get the Cauldron release. No UK company has touched Conquest yet on Blu-ray, so it'd be interesting to see who picks up, especially with this new transfer. I imagine a company like 88 Films, Arrow maybe, releasing Conquest. I think any Fulci film fares well in you know, the Blu-ray market, so I can't see it being an issue shifting copies. But it'd be nice to see a release of Conquest over here in the UK. This is region A locked, so I mean, again, obviously with this new 4K from Cauldron, that'd be region 3, but just keep that in mind if you are looking for this release. But now I want to get onto how I watched Conquest, and it was a first time watch, and luckily I was fortunate enough to watch it on the big screen. I watched the new Cauldron 4K transfer on the big screen at Forbidden Worlds in Bristol. You know, so yeah, I couldn't believe it when it popped up. I saw it on social media that obviously this is a yearly festival for Bristol, showcasing the weird and wonderful films of exploitation and horror and just all sorts. You know, so I've been keeping an eye on it. Only found out about it last year, so you know, I was interested to see what they did this year, and they had a swords and sandals, you know, fantasy theme, and it runs over the whole of the weekend, and they play back-to-back films, short films. They have interviews with people from these movies in person, which is great to see. And yeah, this was a bit of a just a, you know, right time, right place. I mean, timing is everything. And when I saw that Conquest was announced to be played on the last day of the festival, on the Sunday, I couldn't believe it. I booked tickets. I went with my dad. We made the travel up. Again, he's, you know, he's the reason why I love these films, really. Huge Fulci fan. He had obviously seen Conquest before, but it's been a while. So yeah, we both jumped at that opportunity. And yeah, it was just a great time. We really enjoyed it. It was a big turnout. There was some stalls that we had a little look around before we got into the film. You know, there was yeah, just the atmosphere was really good. A lot of cool merchandise on sale for all sorts, physical media releases, t-shirts, toys, you know, everything, magazines. But yeah, so we watched Conquest. They did say before the film started that the Italian version had been sent over, so we obviously watched it with English subtitles. But again, if you're used to these foreign films, I mean, you know, that was no issue for us. But yeah, what a joy to watch it on the big screen. I mean, just to watch any Fulci film on the big screen is just incredible, but especially one that I've never seen before. So yeah, I came out of it, I really enjoyed it. We both said the big issue with it, sadly, is just, and I mentioned it in the review beforehand, but the actual quality, nothing to do with the transfer. I mean, it looked stunning. You could see the detail was there, but obviously it's just so blurry. Like I said, it's like someone smeared Vaseline across the lens, which has been brought up before, but it really does look like that. So that was the only thing that took away from the experience. I'll be interested to see it on Blu-ray or even 4K with the new Cauldron release, to watch it on the TV at home just to see, you know, if that makes a difference. But yeah, like I said, that was the only issue. I really enjoyed it. Yeah, you know, everyone had a good laugh with it at times. One of the biggest laugh out loud moments from the character Zora was in the climax when Mace appears with the bow. Zora quickly gets out of that situation, which, you know, everyone had a good laugh at. He makes a comment. Yeah, it was just, like I said, the humour, even though there wasn't much of it, a few lines, and like I said, it was really from Zora. It definitely landed, and the gore landed. You know, there was a few standout sequences. A woman getting split in half near the beginning was quite brutal. A few hits to the head, you know, quite bloody, and yeah, I just think it went down really well for, like I said, it was quite a packed screening, so, you know, it seemed like everyone had a good time. But yeah, definitely recommend, if you're, you know, local, willing to make the travel, definitely keep an eye out for Forbidden Worlds Film Festival in Bristol. I believe they do one around October time as well. You know, it's more horror oriented. So I mean, if you're into that, definitely keep an eye out. I'll definitely be keeping an eye out, you know, to see what they do in the future. Again, fingers crossed we get more Fulci, or, you know, just more Italian horror and exploitation in general. But really, I mean, you know, it was yeah, definitely go support it. Had a blast. But that was my experience with Conquest. Again, you know, I do recommend it. It seems like it's you know, a little bit forgotten in the filmography of Lucio Fulci, but if you're into this style of film, you know, and you can't really go wrong. It's so tightly paced. I never was bored during it. It's very nonsensical, but I mean, it's just your typical get from point A to point B kind of adventure story. You know, and it was just a lot of fun. Like I said, there was a lot of creatures and monsters, and, you know, the gore was solid. When you got it, the two leads were very likable. The music as well, I must mention the music by Claudio Simonetti, a standout. That battle track that plays throughout the film is just, yeah, what a banger. Loved it. I've listened to the soundtrack since watching it, and yeah, it's quickly shot up as one of my favorites. So yeah, the soundtrack is quality. But yeah, you know, I think the Wolfmen in the film were a big highlight. Again, it's a shame you couldn't really see them 100% just due to the quality, but they looked solid. Yeah, really good effects work. So yeah, I would definitely recommend Conquest. If you haven't seen it, you know, pick up that new Cauldron release. Again, the transfer was stunning. Looks to be a packed release. So yeah, that is Conquest. I'll be back next week with Enigma, which will be our first proper horror Fulci film, which is exciting. And then the week after, got a big one. So keep an eye out for that one. But yeah, Conquest from 1983. Really enjoyed it. Thank you for watching. Hope you have a good day. Take care.